On this week's episode of Lincoln to Local, Oklahoma Farm Bureau has seen movement on 4 of our priority bills at the Oklahoma legislature, and Oklahoma Farm Bureau's Gage Milliman will share all of the updates and action from this week at the Oklahoma legislature. Gage, it's been a busy week, I know, for your public policy department at Oklahoma Farm Bureau. We've issued some calls to our members to get involved. Kind of what has the week been like so far for you guys as you've seen some of these priority bills move that we've been working on?
It's been an extremely busy week. We've been working on these priority bills all session long, and it kind of came down to this last week. We had a deadline yesterday that those bills had to be across the opposite chamber floor that they started in, and all 4 of our priority bills, priority issues that we're working on were heard this week. So one of our big one was a House Bill 1166 by Representative Kelly and was carried by Senator Howard on the Senate floor. And it was one that we kind of told later in the week that it may not get heard. There were some municipalities that had some issues with that wording and that language of that annexation bill. So we put out a call to action to our members, and we really appreciate our members getting on the phone, calling their senators, calling the floor leader and asking for that bill to be heard. So it was ultimately heard, and then we didn't have to do a whole lot of work to convince those senators to vote for it because our members had called and talked to them already. It did pass with the title off, so it's going to go into a conference committee where they can work out some of those issues that they had that were holding it up a little bit, but we sure appreciate keeping that bill alive and keeping it moving.
What are kind of the nuts and bolts of that bill and what it does for those who may not have watched a previous episode, and kind of what was Farm Bureau members' message to their legislators as they called in?
So the biggest part of that bill is just verifying that if a city or municipality wants to annex land, and in a lot of cases that land is farmland, they would have to have 51% of the acres represented would have to agree to that annexation. So that was the biggest portion of that we wanted. On the backside, there was also a de-annexation after 10 years if utilities that were promised were not provided. I think that's where some of the issues were that municipalities has. What if we promise we're going to give you water and sewer and maybe trash services, and at the end of 10 years we are unable to do that, then we're going to lose that area we annexed and maybe some of the infrastructure we put in. So I think those are some of the discussions that are going to be had in that conference committee. But we just want to make sure that our landowners are protected and that they have some say before they're annexed into those municipalities.
I know another 2 bills that you've seen some work and action on this week have to do with renewable energy. Can you kind of talk about that pair of bills and what they do, where they're at?
Yeah, we have a couple bills, kind of our other priority bills all work with that renewable energy. We had one, House Bill 2752 by Representative Caldwell and Senator Gallagher, and it provides saying that private entities that put up those renewable energy facilities cannot use eminent domain to do that. So we've had it in law that you couldn't do that for wind facilities, but this clarifies solar, battery storage facilities, hydro, all of those things included as well. Along with that one is House Bill 2155 by Representative Dobrinsky, was carried by Senator Green, and it's just those same facilities. It would require them to go through OCC, the Oklahoma Corporation Commission, to get a certificate of authority before they start construction on those facilities. So those 2 bills kind of work hand in hand to bring some accountability to those facilities and those companies before they start their projects.
And where are each of those bills in the process right now?
So both of those bills had some amendments done to them, and kind of like our annexation bill, they're going to go to a conference committee where members of both chambers can get together and work out the details of a few of those things that have not quite come to an agreement on, but we expect they'll do that and move those forward as well.
Now, I know on the topic of eminent domain, another bill that has seen some movement is one dealing not with renewable energy specifically, but with the transmission lines that I don't know are very important for renewable energy and kind of refining some landowner rights there, right?
Yep, that was our final priority bill, House Bill 2756, that was also carried by Representative Caldwell and Senator Green. And that kind of does the same thing as the facilities, only it's specifically to those transmission lines, and just saying that they can't use that eminent domain to put those private lines in, and then also that they would have to go through Oklahoma Corporation Commission in order to get that certificate of authority before they do. And there's also some language in there that would pull some of that that eminent domain authority back from FERC, which is the organization on the federal level that handles all those issues. It would bring that authority back to the state. So if there ever is a time when they tie in with a public use and they use some of that eminent domain, they would still be able, the state of Oklahoma would have a lot more say in where those transmission lines go and how they're constructed.
And moving beyond our priority bills, which is exciting to have all four of them working through the process currently, I know there's another bill that deals once again with wind energy facilities, kind of those renewable facilities that Farm Bureau's been watching. Can you kind of share I know it's Senate Bill 2, what that bill is and what Farm Bureau's been analyzing it for? Yeah,
so that's one bill I wanted to talk about because it has been a hot topic over at the Capitol. Like I said, I think I've mentioned before that we've had people there in favor of it and those that are opposing it. It's worked its way through a version of the House that ended up dying in a Senate committee. So this bill had gone through the Senate and got over to the House, and so the House members put in the language that they lost in that bill in the Senate, so it kind of changed, came across the House floor late on Tuesday night and actually failed. But it was a close vote after much discussion. But then there was a request to have that reconsidered in the future, which was approved late Tuesday night, came back Wednesday morning, and they ran that bill with the title off so they could continue to work on that bill, but keep it from completely dying for this session, and it did pass Wednesday morning. So that's one that'll work itself into that conference committee to where they can maybe work out some details of something that they can make it work. And what that bill does is require some setbacks on those wind facilities and does put some restrictions on where they can go and how they can be put up. So a big discussion, and it's going to continue yet this year.
And that's one that Farm Bureau's just been monitoring, right? Not necessarily taking a hard stance one way or another.
Yeah, it's definitely one we've had a lot of discussion amongst within our organization, but just like the legislature's dealing with now, we have members that are on both sides of that. So it's one we've been monitoring. We know our members are interested in what becomes of that, but it's not one that we've been working this year.
Now, with four priority bills making some exciting progress this week, kind of what's on tap for future weeks here in the legislative session?
Right. Well, we have about 3 weeks left of session, and I think they're going to use all 3 weeks to get things wrapped up. So like I mentioned, there's bills that have been amended that'll have to go back and be heard on the opposite chamber floor before they can go to the governor's desk. Some of them are going to end up in those conference committees where they can get together and work those out. And then they're also going to be working on the budget. And those discussions, we didn't hear much about them this week because of so much floor work they were trying to get done. But the budget discussions are sure going to amp up, and they'll be working on those over the next few weeks.
Well, thanks, Gage. Thanks for the update, and we're excited to see how the legislative session turns out for Oklahoma Farm Bureau here.
Thank you.